What's up, guys? This is the 2020 Buick Envision. This is Buick's entry into the mid-range SUV class. It is a beautiful car. It's a dream to drive, and today I want to go over some of its features with you guys and tell you all about it. So without further ado, let's get rolling. First off, I have actually borrowed this specific car from Madal Buick GMC here in D'Iberville, Mississippi. They're an amazing dealership with an amazing staff that would love to help you out. You could actually purchase this car from them if you enjoy it. So right now, we're going to take a look at some of the exterior features. All right, guys, the first thing I want to talk about is this paint color. It's called Dark Moon Blue Metallic, and it is beautiful and luxurious, just like you would expect from a Buick. Now we're going to move on to the headlights. Nothing too interesting of note. It does have LED daytime running lights, but the one thing we want to make sure you see is this nice little Buick logo in case you're ever working on your headlights and you forget that you're driving a Buick. Yeah, that's right. It's a Buick. Now moving on, we have the typical Buick hood vents. Those are for power, of course. Let everyone know that, hey, you don't want to race me. This is a Buick. Back off. Moving around, you can see it's got 18-inch polished aluminum 10-spoke wheels. Moving on to gassing up your 2020 Buick Envision. It's got automatic opening gas cap cover, and there's no gas cap. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. You just take your gas nozzle, stick it straight in, opening this cap. Moving around to the back of the Buick Envision, nothing too crazy back here. It does have a auto opening lift gate, which you would expect from a car in this price, in this segment. And that's really it. Nothing else too crazy about the 2020 Buick Envision. But now let's go ahead and move on to the interior, which is where this car really shines. So moving into the interior of the 2020 Buick Envision, and right off the bat, I've got to say it is a beautiful place to spend time. Just in my initial drive of the car, I was very pleased with the materials, the quality. None of the buttons feel cheap. All of the knobs are wrapped in rubber. They just feel sturdy. It feels well built. You know, this car was made to compete with other luxury midsize SUVs. And I've got to say, although this car may not have all of the same technology as those cars, I've got to say I was thoroughly impressed with the quality of the build, the materials, the driving, the comfort. It's whisper quiet. And you know, at this price point, this car is, I believe, almost fully loaded, is just under $40,000. And at that price point, you know, you don't expect to get every bell and whistle. What you expect to get is a comfortable, luxurious car that is reliable and exactly what you would expect. And this is that. You know, people that buy this car, I think, are looking for something. They don't want the newest technology. What they want is something that does everything they could ever ask from their car and does it very well and does it in a very comfortable way. And this car absolutely accomplishes that. With that, let's go ahead and get into some more of the details of the interior features of this car. One of my favorite features of this interior is actually the rear view mirror. It is one of the sleekest rear view mirrors I've ever seen. Buick, good job. Normally, your rear view mirror has this big, thick wall of plastic all the way around it, but they really went above and beyond to make this thing as sleek as possible. And I've got to say, it looks good. It looks good. All right, so on the driver's side door panel, you do have your memory settings for the automatic seats. You have your left and right mirror controls. Then you also have a little pocket right here, and then you also have a secondary little pocket, and then you have a third pocket. There's no shortage of pockets in the 2020 Buick Envision. You also have a knob right here that allows you to control how high the automatic liftgate will go. It can either do max height, 3/4 height, or off, which just simply turns it off where you can't open it. Moving on over here, you have your controls for the lights. You have your dimmer switch for the gauge cluster and displays. Then you also have your pocket right here for whatever else you couldn't fit in the 3 door pockets. So looking at the steering wheel, over on the left side, first off, we have our settings for your cruise control, and you also have the heated steering wheel control. Yes, it has a heated steering wheel in case your hands get cold. And then moving over to the left side, you have your control for the volume for the radio, just like you would expect, and then this allows you to switch stations or songs if you're listening to your iPhone or something like that. It does have Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, so that's a big plus, something I know a lot of people are looking for that. Moving into the gauge cluster, nothing too crazy. It does have an informational screen, as you would expect to see, and you can see many different things. You can see info about your speed, gas mileage, things like that. You can see what you're listening to, who you're on the phone with, navigation. And one thing that I thought was interesting in the options menu is you can actually go in and you can set a speed warning in case you're going too fast, but you can also set the units. Let's say you decide you don't want to look at things in miles per hour anymore. Well, you can click it, switch it to metric, and just like that, the speedometer now, if you notice, is reading kilometers per hour. So it doesn't just change it in the informational screen, it actually changes it in the gauge cluster. If you live in America and decide you don't like that anymore. All right, moving over to the infotainment system, you can see it does have audio, it has Android Auto and Apple CarPlay, so iPhone users and Android users both will be appeased. It does have Bluetooth, so you can talk, and it actually has 2 Bluetooth microphones in the car so that you can pick up conversations from both sides of the front seats. It has projection where you can actually hook up a USB device and project to this screen. It's got navigation. You can see the weather. Like I said, it has a Wi-Fi hotspot in the car, so you can see the weather at any time. You can check your text messages, or you can use OnStar. It does have the option to control the rear zone climate from the infotainment system. Should your rear passengers be annoying you by changing the buttons too much, or if someone gets out, leaves the cold air blowing back there and maybe you don't want it on, you can come in here and simply turn it right up, or if they're messing with it too much and you don't want them, simply lock them out. Haha, now I am the only one who can control how much air goes to the back. Oh, what power I have. Moving on to the right of the infotainment system screen, you can see there's these buttons to turn off the auto stop feature. This car does have the auto stop feature where when you come to a full stop at a stoplight or something like that, the motor will shut off and then come back on as soon as it feels you touch the gas pedal. You can also turn off the parking sensors if you're parking and just sick of hearing it beep at you and maybe you want to back into a pole. You have the option to turn it off. You also have this clock, so basically the only difference between this car and a Bentley is the logo because they both have clocks. One more interesting feature of note in the infotainment system is you can go into settings and you can actually turn on teen driver mode. And teen driver mode, it allows you to set different restrictions so that you can see what your teenager is doing in case you want to let your teenager drive your 2020 Buick Envision, but not however they like. Moving on down to the climate controls, you can see this car does have everything you would expect. It's got automatic climate control. You can set it to auto and it'll adjust the temperature you set. One interesting thing is the climate control, the thermostat is actually attached to this touchscreen rather than a physical button, as well as your heated seats. This car does have heated seats both in the front and the rear seats, which is a great feature for you and your rear passengers on those cold days. And you can see whenever you adjust the fan speed, it does show up in the infotainment system, and you can see exactly what you're setting the fan to, where the air is blowing, things like that. Moving down to the shifter in the 2020 Buick Envision, you can see it has everything you would expect. You can pull it into drive, or you can put it into low, and you can actually use that to shift using the synthetic shifter, and you can shift the gears to your liking should you need more power for passing from the 2.5 liter 4-cylinder motor. That's right, 4 whole cylinders. This car also has an automatic parking brake. Simply pull up on this small switch and it initiates the parking brake. Push it down to take it off. And finally, only other thing here is your traction control. You can turn that off, and you can turn off the traction control should you want to do some drifting in your 2020 Buick Envision. Moving further into the center console in the 2020 Buick Envision, you can see this beautiful wood look interior panel here. It's the same wood trim that is followed over from the dashboard, comes down into the center console, and it is quite beautiful to look at. You have a small storage cubby here with an AC charging port, and then you have your main center console here with 2 USB ports, an auxiliary port, and a second AC power outlet. All right, moving over to the passenger side of the 2020 Buick Envision, you can see this beautiful wood look trim that I was telling you about. You also have a Nice storage cubby right underneath your trim, and then you have your glove box. So whatever doesn't fit in here, you can just set it in your storage cubby. Moving over to the door panel on the passenger side, nothing too interesting to note, but again, you do have not one, not two, but 3 storage pockets. You know, let's talk about the design of the car real quick. I gotta say, I do quite like this interior. You have this wood look trim piece that kind of follows throughout the interior of the car on both the doors, the dash, and the center console. But you also have this line that's kind of this one line that's your theme that kind of runs throughout the whole dashboard of the car. And I gotta say, it does give a nice upscale look to the car. And don't forget, you have a clock. That's right, an analog clock. It's very close to the digital clock, but you have it. All right, let's talk about the rear seat interior of the 2020 Buick Envision. And right off the bat, I've got to say, it is very, very comfortable. The seat is super plush. There's a ton of legroom. I mean, this seat is in the position I was sitting in filming the video up front, and I've still got to say, I have a ton of legroom. I feel like I could lay down back here and take a nap. In fact, I might. Anyways, and like I said, you have your climate control, you have heated seats back here. You also have 2 USB ports as well as another AC charging port. On both doors, you have not 1, not 2, but 3 storage pockets. You have your cup holders, and you have everything that I think you would expect in the rear seat of a midsize SUV. All right, now we're going to talk about the rear storage space of the 2020 Buick Envision. Let's dive in. All right, moving into the back hatch of the 2020 Buick Envision, very simple. Right underneath this Buick logo, there's a small button. Simply press this, and away it goes. So moving into the back hatch, it is a good size. It's not gigantic, but it's what you would expect from a midsize SUV. If you need more room, simply pull these latches and the back seats will fold down, giving you more cargo space. In the back hatch, you also have 3 tie downs on each side of the storage space for any luggage, cargo that you may need to tie down. You also have an AC power port right there in case you need to plug something in. And then underneath here, you can simply lift this out of the way. It has this little hook. It just pops right off, and you can hook it right there. And this will hang so that you can get in here and get anything you need. It has this storage tray. You keep tools or any other kind of roadside assistance items you might need. But the storage tray simply lifts out, and underneath here you have your spare tire and your jack. All right, final thoughts on the 2020 Buick Envision. You know, first thing I've just got to say again, when I first got the car, I'm not gonna lie, I was a little underwhelmed, but as soon as I started driving it, I realized why this car is priced where it was. The specific model I'm in right now, almost fully loaded, cost just under $40,000. And the ride alone, I would say, justifies the price point. How quiet it is, the build quality is just phenomenal. And here's the thing, you know, this car may not have every single bell and whistle you can think of, but what it does it really well. It gives you a comfortable car with a quiet ride with all the features you would need to make it a comfortable vehicle without any of the excess features that the people buying this car don't really care about. All right, we're back at the dealership, turning back in the 2020 Buick Envision. Before we do, I just want to close out and say a couple of things. First off, again, if you are interested in this car or a car like it, come check out Madal Buick GMC in D'Iberville, Mississippi. They're a phenomenal dealership with an amazing staff that would love to help you out. Also, if you see this on YouTube, give my page a follow. I'm going to be posting some more car walkthrough reviews weekly, so we are so excited that you guys decided to check this out, and thanks for watching. I'm driving my 2020 Buick Envision, and I wonder, what time is it? Should I look at my watch? No, that's too normal, and I don't want to look at the digital clock because, well, anybody has a digital clock. I know. I'll look at my analog clock. Yes, my analog clock. It's 1:04. How good to know.